What's up, everybody? Welcome to a special episode of Life's a Garden. We're celebrating the big game this week. And I hate calling it the big game because we all know what I'm talking about. It's the second annual Stuper Bowl party here on the podcast. Now, unfortunately, we weren't able to retain the full cast from last year. We planned on having everybody back. Things just got in the way, and hopefully we'll have everybody back next year. But we are joined by one familiar face from last year's episode. Somebody who's been on the podcast many times, a great friend, a great football fan. Pow Williamson is here to talk some football. And we talk a lot of football. So buckle up. Get ready. It is time for the Stuper Bowl party. All right, buddy. Well, the Stuper Bowl party went from 4 to 2.
Let's go.
Hey, thank you so much for showing up. I really appreciate it.
I'm happy to be here. It's been a minute.
Yeah. So, Mac didn't show up because he didn't give me an explanation. So, for anybody that remembers last year, Mac and Jared usually are also sitting here. Jared's got some stuff going on. He wasn't able to stick around. And then Mac just abandoned us, so we can only assume that he's a Chiefs fan now.
But we got Bo. Bo's here, so.
We put up an honorary jersey for them because this is still the Stuper Bowl party.
Hell yeah, it is.
And with that, I'm going to kick us off. I don't know if you've been here when I've done this. This is kind of a new thing. To start episodes, I like to start with 10 random questions that I call life questions.
Awesome.
Now, I was planning on this being for everybody, so I'm also going to answer them. Normally, I don't answer them, but I'm going to answer them as well.
Cool.
So I'm going to go down the list here, just a quick rapid fire type thing. And yes, they are going to all be either Super Bowl or football related.
Cool.
In honor of the episode. So, kicking us off, what is your favorite Super Bowl dish?
Ooh.
Like, what's a must-have Super Bowl dish?
Top of my head, like, first thing I'm saying is probably nachos.
Ooh, good call.
Because, like, you can kind of just dish it up however you like. It's one of those things that, especially if you get, like, some queso in a crock pot, you can just have a little bit at the very beginning, have some at halftime, and have some at the end. So that's my first answer. There's probably a better answer, but off the top of my head, I'm thinking nachos, and you can load it up. So.
Yeah, like a chips and dip is just like a must-have, really.
Yeah.
I mean, that's any football game. So I'm thinking, I'm going to go with, like, because a 7-layer dip would be good, too.
Ooh, yeah.
I mean, I'm going to say the bacon wrapped sausage that we always make.
Yeah. Delicious.
Or maybe a jalapeno popper. Mm-hmm. Something like that.
Yeah. I'm going to try this Super Bowl. I'm going to try to fry up some pickle spears and fry up some mushrooms.
Ooh.
Because I was like, that sounds really good. And I've never tried my hand at making those, so might have to try the old air fryer out and see if I can make those.
Oh, yeah?
Mm-hmm.
Sounds pretty easy, too. All right. Best Super Bowl game you've ever watched? For me, I'll let you think on it because I've obviously had time to think on these. I'm going to say it's not my favorite game because that's a different that's not on here. But the best one I think I've ever seen, it has to be when the Giants beat the Patriots after the Patriots were undefeated.
Right. Oh yeah, yeah. I'd agree because that was the David Tyree catch, right?
I think so. Yeah.
Pretty sure that was the one-handed helmet catch.
And I would say the Patriots coming back against the Falcons to win in overtime, but we didn't even get to watch a lot of that game because our service went out.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Huh.
It sucked.
That sucks, especially for right then.
Because once we got the service back, the score had switched like.
So you missed all the good stuff.
Yeah.
Were you like watching like a house party, or was this like
It was
out?
here. It was at my house.
Jeez, oh that sucks.
I blew it. Yeah, I was the host, and that's the last time I hosted the Super Bowl.
Were people like keeping track on their phones?
Yeah, that's
the
how
scores like. It must be getting really good.
We had to watch it on Verizon, because they were streaming it too.
Jeez.
Yeah, and it was behind.
That's rough, buddy. Once a year, man.
I was heartbroken because we were streaming it on the Fox Go app, and it overloaded.
Yeah, it's probably got to be that one. For one factor of also being like rooting against the Patriots, because that was still prime rooting against the Patriots. We'll talk about that a little bit later in terms of like rooting against the Chiefs. But to see the Giants come through and spoil that 16-0 season was like, mwah.
Yeah, agreed. Best game you've ever been to?
You know this.
Yes.
I've told you this several times before, but my very first ever NFL game I'd ever been to was the first year that was Brock Osweiler's first year in Denver, which was also the year that they won the Super Bowl.
Yes.
So the game was against the Patriots of all teams. We watched in Denver, kind of had nosebleed seats, really cold out. My mom and sister came down to Denver too, so like we all watched it together. Game itself was like not crazy exciting, and we were cold, like being there the whole time.
Yeah, it started snowing.
Yeah, like second half probably started snowing as well. So like we're sitting there, we're getting wet, we're snowing. It's just cold and freezing. But the game, the first half, Osweiler was in. It was Osweiler's first home start as a Bronco. And he's a Montana boy. So I was like, we get to watch Montana boy's first home start. And this was an Osweiler was like top dog. He wasn't playing great, but like he was like the next one after Peyton, because Peyton was like hurt a little bit. And so Osweiler started on the road the game before, and that game he got to start at home. So I was like, I get to watch this kid who I played against in high school start his first ever NFL like home game. It was super cool experience if for that alone. Well, second half they wanted to switch it up a little bit. Peyton must have been feeling good enough. They brought Peyton in, so I also got to watch Peyton Manning, which was I'm so thankful for, because he's just great. He came in, changed the whole vibe. We ended up coming back because we were down at halftime to the Patriots. Came back and tie game. So they go into overtime. And I think it was the first play of overtime. And at this point, like the snow is coming down, but like I don't care because I'm like jumping up and down. I'm getting super warm and just like super into it. And everybody around us too, the whole crowd is. I think it's the first play of overtime. CJ Anderson up the sideline for like a 50-yard or something like that, like touchdown run, and we won the game.
Yeah, because that was before.
That was before the other team got a chance.
Well, even if you score a touchdown, it doesn't matter. It's over anyway.
Yeah. So that and it being the fact that also kicked off that season, we ended up going on to win the Super Bowl. So I got to watch that whole team: Demaryius Thomas, C.J. Anderson, like Peyton, obviously. You know, them as a unit beat the Patriots, who were also at their peak, at home. Overtime, everything. So that's got to take the cake for me.
It's definitely up there. Like, it's definitely one of the best games I've ever seen.
Mm-hmm.
Not live, obviously, but to just have witnessed it all.
Yeah.
Great moment. Live, mine is Monday Night Football against the Chargers in San Diego. We were down by 27 at halftime and came back and won.
Yeah.
Biggest Monday Night Football comeback in history.
That's awesome.
Peyton Manning at the helm.
Was that against Phillip Rivers?
Yep.
Yeah.
And that was the first year Peyton Manning was quarterback.
Phillip Rivers is one of those quarterbacks I low-key hated. Yeah. Like, there's more that I hate now, but like every time I saw him, I just like had this sort of burning hate.
For good reason.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry, I got long-winded on that one.
You're good.
I just, like, had to give context.
Absolutely. 3 must-haves at a tailgate party.
Must-have number 1.
Agreed. So checklist for me too.
Yep. Let's see. I think you gotta have some like music going on too.
Okay.
Like I would say, I'd say if you're, because this is a pregame tailgate or is this like tailgate that's happening during the game?
Pregame.
I've kind of seen both.
Pre-game.
Okay. So I'd say music is a good one too. You gotta have some vibe. If you have music and booze, you're just gonna have a party. So then third, you probably actually have to have like something like very team affiliated. Because I've seen tailgates that happen where it's just like people just sort of show up in the parking lot and just like you got the music, you got the food and the booze, but like I can't tell which team you're rooting for.
Oh, okay.
And that's like that's no good. So you gotta have like fully decked out, almost like a house on Christmas of like, your truck's painted with like paint or whatever of like the colors of your team
Yeah.
or something like that, and then just some music to set the tone. Hold up, we them boys, and, and then just some brews, preferably a Coors Light.
Okay, all right. Definitely there with booze. I didn't think music, but I like it. I'm gonna put that in mine as well,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm gonna put in a barbecue,
Yeah.
like a grill.
Yeah, I guess I didn't mention food. That's a big one.
I mean, it's
That's-
hard because there's so many must.
Yeah.
Like I was gonna say a football or like a cornhole board.
Cornhole was like on my short list in my brain. There's their second.
I mean, there's
so.
obviously so many things, but
Yeah.
booze, food, and music. I think
Yep.
that's all. Like that's quintessential
Yes.
tailgate.
Yep.
You could just show up with a truck. You don't need anything else, and you're still.
You can show up anywhere with those things. You
Yes.
can have a good time.
Yeah. Okay. What is your best Super Bowl party memory?
Ooh. Okay, so this one's specific to the Super Bowl halftime. So we had gone to a bar to watch Super Bowl because at that point, like nobody had like really a big enough house or whatever. We're just like, let's just all go out to watch it. I kind of low key was trying to organize like everybody being there and watching it. We went to Carbone's.
Oh, nice.
And I don't even remember necessarily who was playing. That might have been the Ravens. No, it wasn't. It was later on. That's not the reason for the number one like Super Bowl watch party. But at halftime, I was keeping a very close eye on the TV, and all of a sudden this commercial pops up, and I like smack everybody on the shoulder, like, "Hey, what's that?" And it was me on the Altana commercial that like I knew I was gonna be on the Super Bowl halftime commercial, and nobody else knew but my mom. And so like everyone looked and it's like, wait, is that you? And I'm just like, I don't know. And so like to like debut that as like and that was before like I like got too much into acting. That was one of like the first things I did.
Yeah.
And I remember hearing that like, oh yeah, this commercial's gonna play like during the Super Bowl. They told me that like after I like filmed it. I was like, oh, that's pretty cool. Like that's awesome. It's like, oh, you're gonna play it like halftime, right around like the first after the first half,
Okay.
not before the second half.
Yeah.
The first half of like the halftime before the halftime show. So I was like, all right, cool. I know when to keep an eye out for it. So like tried to get everyone prepped and didn't tell anybody but my mom.
Dude,
And
I remember seeing that.
yeah,
It was specifically the Rams and the Patriots Super Bowl.
there you go. Yeah.
Because I remember where we were. We were at Mac's other house, and we're all sitting there watching. And we're watching, and we're like, what the fuck? Like, is that Pow? And like, I immediately called you, and I'm sure your phone was
Yeah,
blowing
it was
up.
so cool because I like got like texts and calls from everybody, from you and stuff. I didn't know because it was Altana, so I thought it was just like a local commercial.
Uh-huh.
But they were like, oh no, this played in Idaho, Montana, North South Dakota, and Wyoming.
Oh,
And so like literally like that whole region. So I was like, oh, that's crazy. Like that's a chunk of the nation.
That's
to, like
crazy.
this commercial playing. So, and I feel like I might have had one or two people that had like recognized me from that, like right after,
Wow.
and they were just like, it's like, oh, were you like in a commercial or something like that? And they're just like, oh yeah, like I was just like, oh yeah, you're the guy that was doing this, because they like recognized my little like dance move that I did in the commercial, which I'm so glad made the cut.
That's hilarious.
So that one's
Yeah, I like that.
I probably would have picked like the Broncos Super Bowl, but like this one made the cut as far as like just party
Yeah,
atmosphere experience.
that's mine.
Yeah.
Is the Broncos Super Bowl?
Yeah.
Not just it's because for one, it's the biggest Super Bowl party we ever had. We just had a shit ton of people there. I was prepping all day with decorations and like just the anticipation of that game itself. Mm-hmm. And so between all that and then just forget the outcome of the game, just the experience of everyone being there, all wearing Broncos stuff, like that alone was just the best.
Where'd you watch that?
It was at my mom's house, like
Cool.
when I was living there.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was a big enough place, big enough TV, like everything was perfect.
Mm-hmm.
It was just it was perfect.
That's great.
And then obviously the outcome made it even better.
Mm-hmm. Did you have a similar like get together the year before?
We've always had somewhat of a get together, but not like that.
Mm-hmm.
It's never been like that, and it's never been since that.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's and it was organized by me.
Yeah.
So I was like, I was proud of that.
It's good stuff.
It's always nice to like put on a good party.
Absolutely.
Best Super Bowl halftime show in your opinion? I know my answer.
I know yours is Janet Jackson.
That's it really isn't. Like that was what I was thinking.
Give us yours, yeah.
I'm This is tough because there haven't been very good lately.
Mm-hmm.
I actually didn't hate the Weeknd's performance.
Running through the mirrors.
I thought that was kind of cool.
It was yeah. Kind of ran through the stadium and stuff, yeah.
And most of it, God, and I'm probably not thinking of a few of them, because there was a time when after the Janet Jackson thing happened, where they kind of just got real bland. Oh, you know what? Prince. That's the best one I've seen.
No, I could see that. I could see that being a lot of people's faves too, because that was pretty hyped as well. Yeah.
That's
I thought that one was really cool for production value wise.
Yeah.
I think for me the best like vibe that I got, enjoying the music and then also seeing like, oh, this is someone who like puts on a performance every night they're like on stage, as opposed to just like singing songs like Park and Bark kind of thing, you know. Bruno Mars did a great job, because the way he like danced too, it was very Michael Jackson-esque, of just like, you know, he was like smooth and grooving, and the music was just, it was peak Bruno Mars, peak like dancing performance, and it was kind of just him on a stage. He didn't need like all the fancy like side show sort of stuff going on. He didn't need to fly on like a thing or whatever. He just like got up there and danced really well and sung some fun songs, and it was a good time. So I think Bruno is probably my top.
No, it's not a bad one. Best. Okay, this is gonna be a tough one, and we can formulate this one differently. Best Super Bowl commercial. If there's one specific one that like stands in your head, say that. Or if it's harder and more broad, which company do you think has put on the best Super Bowl commercials?
All right, other than Altana.
Well, okay, yeah, let's take that. I knew you were gonna say.
Oh man, I gotta think this year.
I'm trying to think of like, okay.
Because Budweiser's always got like a big one.
There's always been good beer ones.
The ones with like puppies and stuff don't like hit me as hard as they hit like a lot of people. Of just like, because I know Budweiser does that with like the Clydesdales, and they got like a puppy or something.
I want the funny ones again.
Right? Yeah.
Where's the funny ones at? The funniest one, and it's still to this day one of the funniest commercials I've ever seen in my life, and mostly because I was a kid when I saw it. But it just stuck with me forever. It was a beer commercial. I don't even know which beer. Whether it was Bud Light, Miller Lite, Coors Light, whatever. It's a guy in a clown suit, like in a clown getup, but he's wearing it normal, but it looks like he's standing on his hands. So like he comes in like this, right? He's wearing the shoes on his hands, and like it looks like he's walking. Looks like the clown's walking on his hands, right? Sits down at the bar, grabs the beer with his shoe, and starts drinking the beer out of his ass. But he's drinking it out of his mouth. You know what I mean? And forever, that was just my favorite commercial.
I think you gotta like find that and link it in the description.
I think I will. I've looked it up.
Because we're gonna look it up whenever we take a break. Because I gotta check that out. No, that's good. I wish I could like think of a specific funny one, because I remember on TBS. At the end of the year, they would show like the funniest commercials of the year, and like half of them were from the Super Bowl. And I would like watch that and be like, "Oh, these are all really good," but they just haven't.
Lately, they've just been terrible.
They haven't stayed in my brain. This one's not like probably not the best commercial, but I do remember it being like a really cool idea for like an ad campaign kind of thing. Was they came out with a Cloverfield movie that was like I think there was just Cloverfield 1, Yeah, Cloverfield 1 was the only one that came out at that point, and this one was just, it's kind of like a marketing stunt, really, but I was just like, that's a good stunt. I'm actually going to buy into this. Was they advertised for Cloverfield Paradox, and it was a Netflix movie, and they said, it was like a halftime commercial, and they said, they had the trailer out, nobody knew this movie was coming out at all, or knew there was another Cloverfield movie coming out. And then at the end of the trailer, it's like, oh, that's cool. That's like a brand new trailer for a movie that's probably coming out in like 3 months or whatever. And they're just like, watch it after the game. And they're just like, that's cool. Like, there's a movie that literally they're dropping the minute they drop the trailer. And I'm just like, that's a cool marketing campaign. And like, I'm sure that's how they got 90% of the people to watch that movie, because it wasn't like great, but it was interesting and it was smart. So that's one that sticks out to me for like the marketing standpoint of it. I got to think on. I really want to come up with a list of funny ones.
If one comes to your head, just bring it up.
Yeah.
I always thought Doritos had good ones too.
Yeah.
That was another one I liked.
Doritos. Oh, GoDaddy had good ones back in the day.
Yes, they did.
GoDaddy had good ones. I'm trying to think of other companies. So like, there's always Budweiser.
The beer ones, yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, if anything pops in your head, just let me. Puppy Monkey Baby.
Oh,
Puppy Monkey Baby. I hated that one. So stupid.
BK Melt. I know you hate
Speaking of dumb commercials, like, at all. You know there's going to be a Burger King commercial, too.
Oh, for
Dude,
sure. There's going to be a Wingstop commercial, if nothing else.
You know what would be the most fantastic Burger King commercial ever?
What?
So picture this. They're on a plane.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know where I'm going with this at all?
I don't, but I'm excited.
Have you not seen that video of the guy that's sitting on the plane wearing a Burger King crown and he yells the N-word? Well, I guess I got something else to show you, too. Yeah. So it's not as funny if you didn't. I just pictured that guy showing up in a Burger King commercial.
Is it Michael Richards from Seinfeld at Kramer?
What if he was playing that guy, and that was his return to
comeback,
acting? Yeah.
That's crazy.
Oh god, I'll show you that later too.
Yeah, for sure.
All right. These are a little bit easier. These are just quicker hits.
Right.
Who's your all-time favorite player? Favorite football player?
Peyton.
Yeah?
Peyton Manning.
Peyton
Manning.
Mine's Rod Smith.
Yeah.
He's the reason I became a Broncos fan, really.
See, I'm probably one of the least best guests to have on for your just prime Super Bowl football episode, because of all our crew of Broncos fans, I'm definitely the least well versed in Broncos lore and all that stuff, because I didn't really start paying attention until Tebow.
Yeah.
And up until then, I was just a very, very casual football fan. I didn't have a favorite team. I just kind of watched the Super Bowl, and then Tebow came along and was like, I really like that guy, and then I moved to Colorado and it's like, all right, I'm going to invest in this team, and then Peyton, and then they won the Super Bowl, and then since then I've been a Broncos fan. Not as diehard as you guys, but I know enough. But so I've got a very limited scope of when something mattered to me.
That's fine.
And,
you got into it when you got into it.
Yeah, and Peyton was good. And Vaughn's probably up there too.
Absolutely.
As a player, hearing Strip Sack Miller is just the best.
It gives me goosebumps.
It's some of the best 3 words you can hear. I was kind of hoping in that Bills game that I'd hear Strip Sack Miller and just him running in for a touchdown, and that's that era so good. Demaryius Thomas, R.I.P. And I was 88 in high school, so I was big into that. So to see him succeed was pretty solid, and I was shooken up by when he passed. So, but Peyton is going to be my answer.
Last 2 questions before we end this.
Yeah.
The 10 questions. Least favorite team? Chiefs. And together, greatest team ever. The Denver Broncos.
Let's go, baby.
Yes, indeed. Now, let's discuss this year's Super Bowl matchup.
I should probably pee first.
All right, we'll take a quick break. All right, now we've went pee-pee. Well, you did.
No, together.
Ah, yes.
Cross streams.
They're not supposed to know. This year's matchup in the Super Bowl. Thoughts, concerns, all of the above?
Right. Let's see. So I did bring a couple of notes.
Absolutely.
So in my mind, one of the things before getting to the actual matchup, we gotta address the Chiefs anti-hype. Like the anti-rhetoric, the hate towards the Chiefs is
Yes.
as big as I've ever seen it. As like a Broncos fan, we felt it more because they're in our division. You know, they've been good. They've not necessarily been the reason we haven't like done well because
That we did ourselves disservice.
yeah, but we've had to watch from the ground up this happening, and it just gets annoying when you play them twice a year and you go like, what was it, like 15, 16 games straight losing to them?
Something like that.
So now that everyone else is on the hating Chiefs bandwagon, what do you think are some reasons why everyone is anti-Chiefs right now, other than just Chiefs fans?
I mean, I think the majority of it, the whole ref thing, that's take that out of it because I think that's just an excuse.
Mm-hmm.
I don't necessarily, me, I don't necessarily think it's an inaccurate excuse.
Mm-hmm.
I think there is some levity to that. I think, and honestly, there's a lot of people that are going to think the Taylor Swift stuff. I don't think that's it either.
Mm-hmm.
I do think it's the Patriot effect. It's the same thing as why everybody hated the Patriots.
Right.
For one, you do hate when you're not a fan of that team and you're like, you got 32 teams, right? Everybody's fighting for the same thing every year. And if one team is just constantly winning that one thing that you're trying to get, that gets old. And people don't like that. People get sick of it. People don't like when there's one juggernaut team that's going to run roughshod over the league. That's one part of it. The second part is there is seemingly blatant favoritism, not necessarily on the field, but from the league itself. Like, the league is clearly pushing these guys as this, like, wonder story of, like, these, oh my God, like, they're just, listen to every commentator, listen to every analytics show. They very rarely have detractors. And it's because the NFL is, they want to push the Chiefs as the number one ticket.
How much of that is because they are good?
I mean, they're definitely. I'm not trying to take anything away from them talent wise.
Sure, but it's just kind of hearing that over and over and over again.
Yes.
Yeah.
People get sick of that.
Yeah.
And of course, you're going to prop up your better teams and your better players, your more marketable players. I get that from a business standpoint. But you have 31 other franchises in this league too.
Mm-hmm.
And when every one of them feels like you're only focusing on this one team, even though that might not necessarily be fully true, everybody perceives it that way.
Sure.
And that's why people hate them.
Yeah.
And guess what? I love it.
Yeah. I could see you spearheading anybody's anti-Chief rhetoric.
Nothing has felt better in my life. And don't get me wrong, like we saw the wave with the Patriots too, and I was great with that as well. Mm-hmm. This one hits different.
Yeah.
Because it's a rivalry.
Yeah. To piggyback off of your comment about it being because they're a dynasty, they're a good team. And I will admit they're a great team. They're an all-time team. Patrick Mahomes is an all-time great. I was later on the like Chiefs hate. And you remember specifically because you would mention how much we have to hate the Chiefs. And I was like, oh no, we should hate the Raiders more. Like they're probably like from a history standpoint, a bigger rival. When Patrick Mahomes started coming on the scene, I was just like, he is really fun to watch. This year, not so much, but like he's making sidearm passes. He's doing stuff that nobody else should be. He's slipping out of like every single tackle. It's just like, he is very fun to watch. That flipped for me. And one of the reasons I think it happened was because of this fatigue that I felt. You see like 1, 2, 3 years like in a row of a team making the Super Bowl. The 2 weeks between the conference championships and the Super Bowl are like, for a football fan, it's all about like building up the hype and building up the tension. One of the big ways they do that is, all right, let's do a deep dive into each of these two teams. And generally, it's like, oh, there's like this new team. So like, oh, let's go into the Bills. Let's find out something about their like number 2 receiver and like talk about his backstory and his family and like how he grew up. And then you kind of like get tied in storyline wise, or like some random team that doesn't make it there, or some team that's tried so many times and they just like fail every time, or this brand new up and coming like super fun team to watch with all these young kids, like the Chiefs were the first time they kind of came around. It's like, oh, this is new, this is interesting. But in this 2 week span, when football fans are most like itching for good football, and so they like invest more of themselves into like, let me follow the storylines that like are being put out by these two teams, and then to have that be the Chiefs for like 3-4 years in a row, it's like, all right, there's not much new here you can kind of tell me, so I'm already fatigued by it. And in a society where we're very like, what's new and next to me, you got to do something that like fuels our interest a little bit more. And honestly, I don't care enough to be like, oh, tell me more about Patrick Mahomes' story or Travis Kelce's. And then other than that, it's like, it's just not as fun. So it's the fatigue of being told the same story 4 years in a row that like that drains. And this 2 week span is what I focus on, of like this is when you kind of like get the real meat and potatoes of like, this is why we love the league. This is why we love to watch these players. And we've seen it enough with the Chiefs that it's been tired and boring.
Well, it's like you also see in the AFC, right? You have so many other teams that are like you got the Josh Allens and the Bills. You got Lamar and the
Yeah.
Ravens, and I'm not a big Ravens fan, but they're talented.
Mm-hmm.
You have Joe Burrow and the Bengals, even though they didn't make the playoffs, still talented. You have upcoming teams like ourselves. Who else was kind of an upcoming team? The Chargers are somewhat of an up-and-coming team. There's a lot of talent in the AFC, and yet it all just completely doesn't matter. Yeah. It's basically how it feels. It's like, it doesn't matter who's there, who's good, who gives a shit, really, because as long as Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs are here, they don't matter.
And it's the fact that that's known from the jump. Like, from day one of the season, people are saying, oh, as long as the Chiefs like make the playoffs, they don't even have to be the number 1 seed. They'll just like, they're so good in the playoffs that it doesn't matter. So it detracts from the intrigue of the regular season and the like, oh, who's going to be the best? Who's going to be really good? Because there's a team out there that's like this juggernaut that you expect them to be there, and until they prove you wrong, it makes it more boring. It cheapens the storylines of like anybody could win, or like there are 2 teams, one of these 2 is definitely going to like make it. Like if it's the Bills or the Chiefs, if they had gone back and forth each year with like their like who beat each other, so much more intriguing than, oh, well, it's the playoffs. It's the Bills versus the Chiefs. We've seen this story play out a million times, so we know what's going to happen. And even though the games are close, and I would say that the Bills-Chiefs games in the playoffs are some of the best football I've ever watched, it's just, there's this itching feeling down deep that I'm like, I know what's going to happen. And by the time the fourth quarter comes around and it's still a 1-score game, any other game I'd be like, all right, let's see what's going to happen. But because I've seen it play out and I know what's going to happen, and then it's proved to be true, it's like, oh, all right, well, what was the point of the past 17 games if I knew we were going to get here anyway?
See, and to me, it's like, I'm always the optimist where I'm like, maybe this will be the time. This will be the time that they beat them and they finally break through and this is it. And then it doesn't happen. You're just like, oh. Yeah, like you said, here we are again.
Yeah.
As disappointing as it's been to be a Broncos fan the last 9 years up until now, can you imagine being a Bills fan right now?
No, that's my like worst nightmare, is to be that good of a team, but to be just shy of that great of a team.
You're just the silver medal every year.
And you're only going to be forgotten. Like, nobody's going to remember that the Bills were like super good, and because it's the Chiefs.
Yeah.
Then you can say that about any team that was second fiddle to one of the greats passing through. Like, who was the second best like basketball player when Michael Jordan was around? Maybe like
Reggie Miller. Is
Yeah.
kind of what we were thinking.
Yeah, and who was the second best football team when Alabama
But
was
to, like,
going
never
through
win.
the run, to never win, to like
Yeah.
not win in that stretch, and just to be like,
You really don't think about it. Yeah, like you really have to go back and think like who. Yeah,
Mhm.
I'm trying to think of like other like the Patriots.
Yeah.
Like that's fairly recent, right?
Yeah, and that probably
I
would
guess that
have
would be
been
Peyton Manning, right?
Peyton Manning, Aaron Rodgers in that camp too. It's like, yeah, they both got theirs, but in that stretch, that was Tom Brady's stretch.
Peyton Manning is the Josh. Well, Josh Allen is the Peyton Manning of before.
Sure, yeah. If Josh Allen can win one with Buffalo and then come to Denver and win one,
No, we got our guy. We got our guy.
Yeah, we do. But on that same vein, I had this question proposed by my lovely wife. She was, because she's seen me, you've seen me do this year in particular. Is there ever a time when it's appropriate to like kind of give up on your team? I know that you're a diehard, but if you're watching your team struggle 9 years of just like, okay, let me build up and then I'll kind of get disappointed again. And we've seen it time and time again. So when they've shown me that pattern over the years. When we were in Oregon, we were watching who were they playing?
Oh, the Jets.
They were playing the Jets. And it looked like we were just like going to lose it because the Jets came down. All they had to do was kick a field goal to win. They were within field goal range. And I was like, I don't know why I follow this fucking team. It's just going to happen again. We were about to lose to the Jets and we were just on like a 3-game losing streak or something like that. I was just not having I don't want to watch this happen again. So and this happens. I go through these peaks and valleys pretty much every Broncos game of like, I don't know why I keep watching, or it's like, we'll win the Super Bowl. It's kind of one or the other. But for you, what does it mean to be like, all right, let's push through. I still have to like profess that I'm a fan, even if my team kind of sucks, versus, oh, it's okay to just, you know what? I'm not going to watch the game this week. I'm not going to watch like half of this season. I know this is a rebuilding year or whatever it is. What does that look like to you?
Well, I mean, I'm definitely a different kind of fan, I think. You know, I think that's always going to be subject differently to every individual and the way they perceive the game and what the game means to them, as far as like, that's just something I really enjoy. Like, I'll watch games that the Broncos aren't in. You know, I just love football that much that that's what I like to do in my free time. You know, and I have plenty of free time to do that. So that's another part of it. You know,
and you like football enough to like appreciate a game, even if it's not like
right.
Yeah, as opposed to like baseball.
Yes. Yeah. Now, as far as giving up on a team, like, I don't think if you're a real true fan,
nice Scott Stapp style. I'm a real true fan.
You never truly give up. You will be disappointed at times. You will feel like you want to give up, but you never will. And the reason for it is because exactly what happened in 2015. We were in a rough patch before that, and then
Peyton Manning came in the second half.
Sometimes it comes back around, man. Sometimes, could you imagine giving up and then all of a sudden we're like the best team ever, and then you're like, well, I'm gonna go back to like I think going back to that being a fan and appreciating the team once you've given up on them is almost a worse feeling than giving up on them.
Yeah, I can see that.
Now there is one particular scenario where it is perfectly fine to give up on your team.
When you're rooting for the Colorado Rockies.
Well, that's true too. But in the vein of football, if you're a Jets fan.
Oh my
because
gosh.
It's time to call it a fucking day if you're a Jets fan.
Jeez,
I'm telling you.
I don't know how much more you can take and still call yourself a Jets fan, because at least Cowboys fans have the 80s, you know?
Yes.
And like Jets have just been hoping and trying and reiterating, and
they won
still being
Super Bowl
every year.
3.
Jeez.
And that's the last time they even went to one.
Yeah. I picked them preseason as like to win the Super Bowl.
I know. That was crazy.
And looking back, it was crazy.
But it wasn't on paper. You were not the only one. I heard other analysts say that Aaron Rodgers was going to be MVP and comeback player of the year, this, that, and the other. None of that happened. if they can't do it now, and from everything I've heard about that ownership, the owner, and like everything that goes terribly, I should also mention the Jaguars. But the Jaguars aren't even an old enough franchise to give up on yet.
Yeah, and I mean, if you're focusing around like your young quarterback, Trevor's still got it. He's still got time to make it happen. I don't know. This year was kind of a make it or break it year, in my opinion, for him. But
now they're toast. That new coach looks like a fucking idiot.
yeah, so.
But
Jets for sure.
that's so bad, honestly. And like I would have said that. Honestly, I would have said that 3 years ago about the Lions too, though.
Mm-hmm.
And look what they're doing.
Ooh, here's a good one. So imagine being a Vikings fan. I know that sounds good. Like it's like, oh yeah, no, the Vikings they're always pretty good. But hear me out. The Vikings are always really good, but they always lose in like the first round of the playoffs, and they're great. They've been a great regular season team for the past like 10 years. They have really good success in the past with like, AP and all that. But I would put them up there as like a sneaky contender for, we're close to tasting greatness, and we're every year we've got this hype that we should be a Super Bowl team, and we just fall off. But not just fall off. They're just not good enough to like who's talking about the Vikings right now,
Yeah.
So I'd put them in there.
You could say the same as the Bills, though.
Yeah.
They're pretty much in the same exact boat.
I would if the Bills weren't so tied to Kansas City. Like their success is tied to them losing to Kansas City, because you could argue this is all just like in the thought experiment, but like if Kansas City didn't exist, the Bills would have 3 Super Bowls, I don't think you could with the Vikings, because they haven't like been stopped by the same juggernaut every time. It's like it's been something different. Whereas like with the Bills, it's like, oh, who knows? If this one team wasn't their kryptonite, then they could be Superman the past 3 years, But the Vikings have like had 3 or 4 different versions of a kryptonite that have gotten them. So it's like, you're Superman, and then you fall off. So
here's a good question for you.
Mm-hmm.
Would you rather? This is kind of a tough one, okay?
All right.
Because I'm going to give you some examples. Would you rather be a fan of a team that is consistently good, makes the playoffs every year, but never gets to the Super Bowl or never gets it done? Maybe they even do get to the Super Bowl and they just don't win.
Similar to the Packers.
That's a Packers, Steelers, Bills, and even the Bills aren't even in that rank because they're only been good recently.
Yeah, Packers generally get to like the NFC Championship.
Like consistently good. Yeah, Packers would be in there. I would put like maybe the Niners in there.
For sure.
So teams like that.
Yeah.
That are consistently good but don't win it.
Mm-hmm.
Or would you rather be a fan of a team that's consistently bad and never seems to get out of the hole? Like Cleveland, Jacksonville. Maybe they have one good season every now and again. Us the last 9 years.
I would say it would have to be like a Super Bowl winning season in order for me to be like a fan of a bad team.
That's not part of it.
I know, and that's why I was like, I had to.
Either way, you're never winning a Super Bowl.
Either way, you're never.
Well, either way,
in that stretch, you're just like, you're either close but no cigar, or you're like,
it's just definitely not going to happen.
I'd have to be a fan of the good team, just for the sake of like watching the regular season, for the interest, for the playoff hopes.
At least there's hope.
Yeah, and if you're a fan of a bad team, like your only hope is like, I'm hoping the season ends so I can get ready for next year. And like, maybe next year will be good. Whereas like, at least you can have fun watching your good team beat another good team. And that's what football is all about. Is like, any given Sunday, I watch my team go toe to toe with a good team, and we came out the victors. You'll get that if you have a good team that's like competing, even if they don't win the whole thing. For us in particular, this might be the most Cowboys fan thing I've ever said, but I know I will be committed to being a Broncos fan the rest of my life because I watched them win that Super Bowl.
Okay.
And that's a Cowboys fan thing to say because they had the 80s and nothing since. And that's a team that we got to talk about as far as being like a team that
consistently good that just doesn't seem to get it done.
Consistently good, consistently has these expectations. There's not really like been a year where the Cowboys haven't been like considered in like the Super Bowl conversation.
Right.
But they haven't done shit since the 80s. And it's crazy that like that can happen so much. Good on Jerry Jones for marketing your team and making sure they're being talked about on Life's a Garden podcast in Billings, Montana. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But like that, they're riding high off of that, and they're doing well as a business. But I'm imagining, obviously the Broncos didn't have a dynasty, but we had like our run, and we had like
we kind of did have a dynasty. Well, I wouldn't call it a dynasty, but we had a really good run.
Yeah. Earlier, before like I kind of like
same with me.
Latched on, and then we had that. But I would still, we'd have to be as bad as the Browns for like another, I'd say 10 years for me to like say I'm not a Broncos fan anymore.
See, this was the year that made me realize that, for one, I would rather be the team that's winning more games than losing more games, whether we win the Super Bowl or not.
Yeah.
Because the last, 5 years, let's say, where we've just been horrendously bad, have been some of the just... It makes football season not even fun.
Yeah.
Like, halfway through the season, I'm just like, this sucks. Like, I just don't even care.
That's how I feel about college football a lot.
Yeah. Well, at least if you're like, there's something potentially to hope for, and like you said, every given Sunday you feel like you can win.
Yeah.
It's worth it. And if you're winning more than you're losing, you're happy more times out of the season than you're not.
Honestly, I'd rather have that Tebow year, like when he was winning every close game.
Yeah, by miraculous.
Oh, that's honestly, that might be one of my favorite years as a Broncos fan.
It was fantastic.
It was so great, and we weren't like good enough to make a Super Bowl, but like
won a playoff game.
You kind of believed it every single week. It's like, if we did this every week, we could win the Super Bowl, and that would be the greatest like thing in my entire life. But like, you don't get that with like the Browns teams and the teams that are just like shitty every year. They just don't have the chance to like have fun with football.
Or they'll have like, for example, there was the couple years there with Baker with the Browns. There was that one season with Blake Bortles took the Jaguars to the AFC Championship game.
Gardner Minshew was fun for a while.
Yeah,
and Gardner Minshew was kind of like,
and even like
Tebow-esque.
Trevor Lawrence had one good run to the playoffs.
Yeah.
Then you got like the Lions now, the Bills now, and it's like they have these bursts. I'm not gonna put the Lions. The Lions haven't gotten out of this yet.
Where do you throw the Raiders in on that? Because like I know that like if your mask wasn't like brought on by being AFC West, but like
no, the
Raiders are in that camp
of being terrible,
teams.
But unlike those other teams I just mentioned, at least they had a glimmer of hope at some point.
Sure, yeah,
where they actually kind of were looking like they might do something, and then they got their flame snuffed out pretty quick. The Raiders have not had a flame.
The closest they had was Gruden getting hired and being like, "Oh, we got like a coach that knows what he's doing," and they got on Hard Knocks. I watched that season. It's like one of the few seasons of Hard Knocks I've watched. It was very entertaining.
Yeah,
because all it was hype. And it's just like, oh, let's just hype each other up the whole time. Let's get Antonio Brown to come in and just literally cause drama. Like he's a Kardashian.
Yeah.
It was fun to watch, but then they just did absolutely nothing.
Well, and you could say the same about the Jets, are a team that just has not had that glimmer of hope.
Yeah.
Ever. I mean, I think their biggest glimmer of hope was getting Aaron Rodgers, and they've done nothing with that.
Yeah. Is that more on the Jets or more on Aaron Rodgers?
That's not true either, though, because they did go to an AFC Championship game with Mark Sanchez.
I forgot about that.
So they had a slight glimmer there that just faded out real fast. And the Raiders, I think, made one playoff game in the last 20 years. Well, since the last time they went to a Super Bowl was 2003, where they lost. And I think they went to one playoff game since then and lost. And the Dolphins are another one like that too.
Yeah.
But the last couple of years, the Dolphins have had some, like, they've looked all right. And even when they had Ryan Tannehill, they were all right. And I think they've been to the playoffs a few times. They just have not won.
Yeah.
So it's not like they can't, it's not like a thing where it's like the playoffs seem so out of reach for like the Dolphins, even though they haven't, I think they have the longest active playoff drought. as far as not
We
winning.
were on that list for a minute before we got made to the playoffs this year.
I think the Jets have the longest drought of not making it to the playoffs now.
Mm-hmm.
But the Dolphins have like the longest not winning a playoff game drought.
Here's the other option of a team type that you could pick favoring or not. Would you rather be like the Steelers, who are the coaching is good enough to where you'll be good enough every year to not rebuild the next year? You know what I'm saying? So like they're okay. They're also not exciting to watch ever. But as a Steelers fan, you're like, oh, this is a storied franchise. I've got like that to rely on every year. You know, we probably have a chance to make the playoffs, win like a first or second round game in the playoffs, but nobody ever really thinks like, oh, we're going to win the Super Bowl. But that also means because of Tomlin, really, you're not bad enough to get good picks, to get a rebuild, to like, we got to fire the coach and start fresh. It's sort of like this limbo sort of zone you're in.
I would rather be that team.
Yeah.
Because you are consistently good. You have consistent leadership. And because you are a storied franchise, people still want to come play for you. As opposed to even if you're a team that has a shit ton of money, people still want to go. People would rather play for the Steelers than the Jaguars.
Yeah, I think it depends on how plugged in you are to the college game. Because if you're like big into the college game, then the draft is very important, and you're like, who's this up and coming quarterback that could change everything for us? Or then I think you want to be a bad team, because a bad team every year is going to be top of the draft, and you're going to be excited for that. And then going into the year, the first like 4 or 5 games, you're like, all right, this could be something. But if you're like the Steelers and you don't get those top drafts, but you're also not as into the draft, you're not as involved in that and hyped up about it.
See, but good draft picks can come from anywhere.
True.
You know, like you don't if you're good at drafting, you don't need to rely on the first round.
Yeah.
You can get good players at any time.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't want being this team the last few years, I don't want to be the team that's relying on the draft to save me.
Yeah.
I want to be the team that can rely on free agency, honestly, because the only reason free agents want to come to you is because they think you can win.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's where it's either because you're just going to give them a shit ton of money,
mm-hmm.
or because they think they can get a ring with you.
Yeah.
And that's who I want. I want to get free agents that are like, okay, this is a franchise I could go play for. That's a quarterback I can play for.
Mm-hmm. I think about it in basketball terms. Like, you know, we got Russ, and that's panning out really well.
There's a reason he wanted to come play for us.
There's like a whole...
They're playing right now.
There's a whole stretch of time that the Nuggets would not have been considered by a player like Russ, because they're just like this like mid-market, small market team. But then, what do we got?
We lost. It's 3 in a row.
Yeah.
They lost to the Knicks.
That was on ESPN tonight, I think.
Was it? Oh, fuck.
Mm-hmm.
I should have just had it on. I didn't know it was on ESPN.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well, glad I didn't see it because we lost.
Yeah. But yeah, that's a similar situation where it's like now the Nuggets are good, that like they can attract this sort of talent to come through.
It helps when you have the best player in the world.
Absolutely. Yeah. Whereas like, you know, Miami was just like let's like make a big 3 by giving them a shit ton of money, bring them here, see how it goes. It turned out super well for them, but now everybody's trying to repeat that. Can't really do that as much anymore. You have to either be good or build it up. Timberwolves, OKC, Nuggets, Golden State, you know, are all teams that were built and brought people in periodically. But so that's my comparison. I'm more plugged into the basketball than the football, if that sort of like compares.
For sure.
Mm-hmm.
It makes sense. Like the comparison is there.
Yeah.
Like people want to play for good teams.
Mm-hmm.
And people and you can always tell which one are the better teams too, because I feel like we're always one of those middle teams where people like to play for us.
Mm-hmm.
And people love to stay. That you see people that stay way longer than they should, like Cortland Sutton.
Yeah.
Even when like we're bad, it's because we have a good organization,
For sure.
which inevitably will lead to success.
Mm-hmm.
If you have a good organization that takes care of the players, has good facilities, it's just a place people want to be, and a good city is a good part of it too. players will naturally attract to that.
Do you think that? How do you think that applies to Dallas? Because I could see them doing that and being like, we're just going to prioritize like hyping up our players as much as possible. If you come here, you can be like, a second string player and still kind of get like advertisement deals. Like you're just more on the map.
I think that's how it does work.
Yeah.
I think the problem is Jerry Jones is a fucking idiot, and he shouldn't be the GM.
He is an idiot, but he's also a genius.
Yes, of course.
But
he doesn't
shouldn't be the football GM. He should be the owner. Like he should be the owner.
Yes,
as he is.
Yeah.
But he shouldn't have football decision making powers.
You don't have to sell anybody on the Cowboys.
Yeah.
They know what they're in for. Like, they know they're going to get marketing deals. They know that all eyes are on them. They're going to get 5 primetime games a year. Like, they know what comes with wearing that star.
Mm-hmm.
The problem is you have an idiot that's trying to formulate this team and putting shitty coaches in place. I'm sure they have the top-notch facilities. It's a beautiful place to live. They have a great atmosphere, fans, all that. It's all there.
Mm-hmm.
But if the guy on the top is so inept as far as like the football side of things, it's not going to work.
Yeah.
And clearly that's the case.
Yeah.
It's just how it is.
Mm-hmm.
You could say the same about a team like Pittsburgh lately, but a lot of that is because they are kind of going through a transition out of the quarterback deal.
Mm-hmm.
They were so, like, when they had Roethlisberger, that's consistency. The last 2-3 years is where it's been like struggling with that.
Mm-hmm.
Once they get that piece in place, the Steelers will be a problem again.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what's been going on with the Packers, is that transition of the quarterback. There's 3 pillars to a great franchise: front office, head coach, quarterback. If you have all 3 of those things, eventually you will be successful.
Bears beats Battlestar Galactica.
All right, I do have a question that's been I've been wanting to ask, piggybacking off your initial question.
Okay.
Where you were talking about the immense hatred for the Chiefs.
Mm.
How would you react as a fan if let's replace the Chiefs with the Broncos?
Sweet.
The Broncos are currently, they're having the same amount of success. They are, just everything to a T. All the ref complaints that are happening, all the hatred from all the fans, the Taylor Swift shit, you name it.
Mm-hmm.
If everything was the same, just replace the Broncos in there. How would you, as a fan, as a true fan, deal with all that?
Part of me is like probably the way that Chiefs fans have sort of reactions, like, oh, they're haters, just hating on success. It's really hard. I gotta do more mental exercise because I gotta put myself in those shoes, because I honestly don't think
I know it's hard.
There's not a chance that it would. I don't think it would happen with the Broncos. Like,
I'm just trying to like.
Yeah. I will answer. I just gotta like give my.
It is hard, especially after the last 9 years.
Yeah, I think the Broncos are one of those organizations that have enough history that it's they kind of have it built in of this like gravitas. So it's like the Broncos, the Packers, the Steelers, the Bears, even, like if you're one of those teams that have like been successful in the past and have been one of those like historical sort of long form teams, I don't think you kind of get that same sort of negative hype around you as like any newer team would.
Well,
like,
I'm saying, like, let's say there is.
Yeah. So
because I agree
with that caveat, because like I agree, like if that was the case, me personally, I'm not like a big like shit talker to like people, unless it's like you and me just shit talking, just like some small thing, but like if somebody else is a fan of something, I'm not going to try and like cause beef or anything like that. I just kind of be like, yeah, you're entitled to your opinion. And then like when I come and meet with you, I'd be like, we're the best team that's ever existed, right? So I would probably try and dispel as much like of that hate as possible and say, yeah, it's I understand where you're coming from. Like, I really like our guys. I really like what we're doing. I'm happy. I'm just trying to ride the wave and just kind of downplay it. But like in the group of like the other fans, I'd be as hyped as you could possibly be. So
You know how I would be?
I know how you would be.
I would be the most obnoxious piece of shit
Yeah.
you've ever met. So and everyone would hate me for the same reason I hate all the Chiefs fans. So I get it.
Mm-hmm.
There are parts of me where I agree with you, where I'd be like, I agree, like, this ref shit can be annoying, but, like, what am I supposed to do? Like, I'm not doing it.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not going to bitch about it.
Mhm.
Like, I don't think that it's happening the way you're seeing it. Probably that's how I would react.
Yeah.
But it's like, I understand why you think that. It's like, probably because we're so fucking good. Like,
Yeah.
that's exactly how I would be the most obnoxious fucking piece of shit about it.
Yeah.
And I hope one day we can. I'm so sick of this fucking Chiefs shit.
It can only last so long, which is why I also think about this, and let me know your thoughts. Since LeBron James, honestly, I've been trying to figure out whether or not, like, in the midst of a player or a team being genuinely great, how much I should, like, invest in appreciating just what's going on. Just from a fan of the sport standpoint.
Yeah.
Because, like, not as a fan of, like, the Broncos, but as a fan of the sport, saying that we were around to watch Brady in his prime, and that we were around to watch Mahomes in his prime, like, there's value to that. And I don't want to be like, oh, no, fuck that guy for the rest of my life. It's just like, I want to look back and be like, I want to tell my grandkids, like, I saw that guy do that pass that really fucked us over, but it was one of the coolest things I ever saw in my life. And I want to appreciate that in the moment while also...
It's so different with the Mahomes thing, though. For us.
Yeah.
It's hard for me to separate fandom from like what you're saying.
Appreciating the sport.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's really hard, especially when you're a hardcore fan. And the best example I can give to you is Jokic.
Yeah.
Like, there are a ton of fans out there and a ton of people that hate him because of how good he is. We don't see it that way.
Yeah.
Because we are fans of him.
When we see him pleading with calls for the ref, we're just like, oh, that's Yoke being
Yes.
Yoke. Whereas, like, everybody else is like, this guy is a fucking douchebag, annoying, sort of like, yeah.
Or there's people that are just can't, they're over it. They're over him being so good. It doesn't matter how, you can appreciate the greatness. Like, I appreciate LeBron James. I respect, I understand.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't mean I fucking like the guy.
Yeah. Here's one of the, like, determining factors in it is just, like, the personality of the person, because
that is a big part.
Yeah, if they're like really cool and like calm and collected, like I can appreciate that. So as much as you can also find whatever you want. Like, Tom Brady honestly was like, he was never showboaty. He was about his work, and he just got to work and he did what he had to do and he played well and he was smart. Doesn't mean people didn't, like, make fun of him for having, like, a supermodel wife and for, like,
kissing his kids on the lips
and, like, kissing his kids on, like, people will find shit to like peck on,
Yeah.
But it's the ones that, coincidentally make the sport better by, like, how dramatic they are the ones that, like, it's easier to hate, but it's also, like, easier to love if you just, like, end up falling in that camp. I think of like LeBron's like that. You could absolutely think LeBron's super annoying from like I'm gonna take my talents to South Beach, and just like the whole entire hype around him and like the poofing the dust up in the air and just being this whole thing. But then he backs it up with his game, and you're like, this is like, I gotta appreciate this when I'm watching it. Steph's like that.
See, that's why I have a bigger appreciation for Steph.
Yeah.
It's because while he's cocky and while he's got his little shimmy and all that gay shit, here's what I don't like about LeBron versus what I do like about Curry.
Mm-hmm.
And actually, I'm going to take this back a little bit. For one, for Curry, he did it he never left. He trusted the process. They built the team around him, and he stayed.
That.
Where I don't like that LeBron left to make a super team to win those rings.
And then I like that he came back.
Yes.
That never happened.
The Cleveland ring is the only one I was rooting for him.
I love that. Yeah.
I was rooting for him then.
Yeah.
Now, you could also say with Curry, they brought talent.
Yeah, but that's also, it's way easier to blame the talent they brought than to blame Steph. You know?
Yes. And so I don't.
Yeah.
Curry stayed to where he was. He did his thing. He even took a step back and he was the number one guy, and he allowed Durant to be the number one guy.
Yeah.
So I appreciate that side of it, even though Curry does still fucking annoy me. Only because he's so good.
Yeah.
When
he's playing the Nuggets, I'm like, don't shimmy. Like, I'm pissed off at him.
Yes.
But if I like watch him and he plays like the Timberwolves or something like that, and he like hits like a 40-footer three, and I'm just like, and he shimmies, I'm just like, that's so fun.
I have a better appreciation for him and his game than I do for LeBron, only because of that. And don't get me wrong, and I'm not saying like I hate LeBron. I think LeBron is plenty talented. I just don't like the fact that he went somewhere to get his ring.
All right, so now bringing all that context of like those types of personalities, those types of players, back to Pat.
Yeah.
How does he fit in that sort of scale of being like, he's, it's way easier for football to stay in the same place, but he's staying in the same place. He's really talented. Honestly, he's not been a douchebag. He celebrates on the field, but who's not going to celebrate on the field, And he's never said on the podium, he's like, yeah, man, that team, the Broncos, like they're never going to amount to us. He's always been respectful. All those things considered, does that make you think of him as like I can respect this guy as a player watching him play, or are you too overshadowed by he's playing my team?
Yes. The rivalry will always outshine. Like, I can't. They are a rival team that they've locked us out of playoffs so many times.
I don't think they have. I think we have.
Well, yes.
If we were the Bills, I would absolutely agree. But
even if we were good, we weren't gonna beat them. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but we weren't good.
Well,
so that's my thought. It's like I agree. Like, but
it's also hard to like watch a team that's in your division succeed.
Yeah.
It's just hard. Like,
especially when if the only thing you can compete for is a wild card every year.
That's why, even though I don't really have a reason to hate the Timberwolves, I do.
Yeah.
There's things about Anthony Edwards I definitely don't like, but it's hard to not appreciate his talent.
Sure.
Except for the fact that he's a rival. Yeah. Like, they're part of a rival team that just making that comparison to basketball. It's like, if the Timberwolves were in the East, totally different story.
For sure.
If Kansas City was in the NFC, probably a different story. I still probably wouldn't like them after all this time.
Oh, man, that's a good question.
I probably wouldn't like them after all this time, just because I'd probably have the same fatigue everyone else has. But my hatred for them would be much, much less.
I don't know. If the Chiefs were in the NFC, I might be on the hype train.
Yeah.
Like, I probably would be. Because, like, that's something...
Maybe not this long.
I guess it would depend, because now that I'm, like, my secondary team is the Packers, then that... If the Chiefs were the Packers, I'd obviously, like, be, like, hyped and into it. But I don't think all the outside stuff, the non-football stuff, the non-being on our conference stuff, I'm not as affected by, other than the, like, just having seen a team go through it so many times and being like, I want a new storyline. But I think I'd be way more amiable to them if they were in the NFC.
Well, here's the thing. I could name, like, if you went through the entire AFC and NFC, there's maybe 3 AFC teams at all that I can somewhat root for. In the NFC, it's probably half.
Yeah.
I mean, there's at least half the teams that I'm like, yeah, I can pull for them.
Yeah.
Like, I don't mind them. And I am not an Eagles fan. I actually fucking hate the Eagles. But guess what? I love the
Eagles. Fly, baby.
I love the fucking Eagles this week. Love them.
Yeah.
But I hate them overall. And think about that. If the Chiefs were in the NFC and they were playing any other team that I hate in the AFC,
yeah,
I would be rooting for them.
Yeah. They were playing the Chargers.
Like, okay, You know the one time I rooted for the Patriots when they were in the Super Bowl? One time. I rooted against them every single time.
Mm-hmm.
Besides one. Can you guess? Seahawks. Because they just beat us in the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
And I did not want to see them go back to back.
Yeah.
It was the one time.
So you were pretty hyped about that pick.
That I was gonna put that in the top in those 10 questions was what is the greatest Super Bowl moment?
Yeah.
And that would be one of them.
Yeah.
Like I thought about the David Tyree catch, the Edelman catch.
Yep.
Against the Falcons, and that pick.
For sure.
Huge.
Yeah.
And it made me think like, geez, there's been a lot of like epic moments during Patriot games.
For sure. And
like
they
in
were
the Super Bowl.
They were fun to watch.
I'm still always appreciative of a good game.
Mm-hmm.
Like last year. Not the outcome I wanted, but it was a good game. Mm-hmm. And I can't be like salty about that.
Yeah, I just want, especially for the past 10 years, the Broncos haven't sniffed the Super Bowl. I'm just like, I just want to watch a good game because I know I'm going to watch. Even this year, I told myself like the Chiefs were in it. And I'm just like, I don't know if I'm going to watch just for like, I don't want to watch them win again, but like, I'm going to watch.
Yeah. That's the thing is anybody, because that's a big thing that's going around.
Yeah.
Is people saying, I'm not going to watch the Super Bowl. Fuck this. Trust me, as a Broncos fan who has sat here for the last 20 minutes saying how much I hate the Chiefs, I love football so much more. Football transcends my hatred for the Chiefs. Mm-hmm. Now, am I rooting for the Chiefs? No. There's another team out there playing. I got somebody to root for.
Yeah.
Even though I'm not psyched about rooting for them, I will. Go Saquon, baby. Go Saquon. I'm still watching the game. Yeah. Like, there's nothing that will ever keep me from watching a Super Bowl.
I think if it were the Browns and...
I love that.
I don't know.
The opportunity to watch a team potentially get their first Super Bowl win, I would love that.
I don't think I'll... under this ownership, I won't ever root for the Browns because of, like... You know what Deshaun Watson did?
Yeah.
And yet you paid him the most of any quarterback. You absolutely fucking deserve to, like, be a dog shit franchise because of what you're doing. And
I agree with that, but I look at it from the side of the fans who have suffered for so long that they deserve it.
That was one of the things that, like, if the Broncos did something like that, I wouldn't be a Broncos fan anymore.
Really?
Yeah. If the Broncos paid Deshaun Watson all that money to come and be our quarterback, I would be like, okay, I don't need to watch this team. Not important enough.
Well, I understand.
Yeah.
It would be hard. I think it's one of those things that would be a healing process.
I don't owe them anything. And just like, you have to keep me as your fan every year. And if you don't, like the Colorado Rockies, who don't do shit, they just know that they're going to make money because their stadium's fun to go to. And yeah, I'll go to it, but I'm not going to watch the Rockies every year because they're always going to be shit and they're not going to do anything about it. So I understand. Because I don't like, if I could pick a baseball team and just like have fun watching it on TV, I would, but I don't as much going live. So like, it's not like football. Like I would pick a football team because I like football enough, but
I think it's just hard for me to think about it in those terms.
Yeah.
Like, you know, it's just hard for me to imagine not being a Broncos fan.
Yeah.
Which I understand. Like I do understand your point of view where it's like, yeah, if there was some really shitty stuff that happened within the organization, it would be hard to, like, you know, let's think about like Penn State. What happened with Penn State.
And you have enough history with them that it's like all this history you're still going to be a fan of.
Right. It's I'm just glad we don't have to. How about that?
Yeah.
You know, like...
Mm-hmm. Good thing we got rid of Vaughn when we did.
No, I forgot.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was kind of tough. I mentioned, like, the strip sack Miller. I was like, oh, that's my best stuff. And then I kind of forgot that that's tainted a little now.
Well, you said the history is still there.
Yep.
But, no, I do get it. I get what you're saying. It's just... It's hard for me to like put myself in that scenario.
Yeah.
But then you brought up the Rockies, and it's like, yeah, okay, I get it. Yeah.
But that's way different because
it is.
Baseball, you feel a certain way. Football, you feel a certain way. And you've made that clear, and I do get that as well. So
Did you have any other notes to?
Let me see. I think we touched on most of them. Let's see what we got here.
I'm gonna grab another brewski.
Yeah.
So much dry January.
Honestly, you brought up the same thing that I... Nice. You brought up because I was like, how do the Bills and Josh Allen specifically feel to a similar... And is there a similar team during the Brady era? And we kind of talked on that a little bit. This is less like Super Bowl like talk, but more while we're on the football talk of it. We could just talk some Broncos hype.
Okay, well, let me...
We're saving some of that?
Let's do that now. But let me ask one last question, then we'll get off the Super Bowl and we'll talk Broncos.
Okay.
Even though we've kind of been throwing Broncos shit in there, of course.
Yeah.
Final Super Bowl question here.
Mm-hmm.
Prediction.
Chiefs are going to win. I'm going to pick them until they don't. If I have to make a prediction, that's the last thing I want to happen, obviously.
Okay.
But like,
if
I because that way, if my prediction's wrong, I'm totally happy. Happiest clam in the world. If my prediction's right, hey, at least I made my prediction right, and I can still be the sourest clam in the world. But I think the Eagles very much are the best team left to have the chance to beat them. I thought it was the Bills. I think second, like the next best team is the Eagles. They got a run game. They got Saquon.
They got Jalen Hurts. Defense.
So I'm gonna say they still got the best shot, but I'm just gonna pick the Chiefs out of necessity.
I'm actually not gonna make a prediction. Because
okay. Oh no, bullshit. No, you're making a prediction. You're absolutely making a prediction. That's bullshit. Get out of here, you fuck.
You got so offended.
How dare you make me choose the Chiefs, and then you say I'm not going to make a prediction.
Okay, I'll make a prediction. Okay, but first, before I do, let me say this. If the Chiefs become the first team to three-peat, it's going to fuck me up, like, really bad.
Yeah.
Like, I'm going to have a actual hard time with that. Like, I'm already pissed off that they're one of the only teams to ever back-to-back. I think I was thinking about this today. They're the only team, I think, that's ever actually had the opportunity to three-peat. I don't think did the Patriots go to 3 in a row?
I don't know.
I don't think they did. They went back-to-back. I think they might even went back-to-back twice. No, that doesn't sound right. Did they? No, that doesn't sound right. But I know the Broncos, they said the Broncos had the best chance to do it if Elway would have come back.
Yeah.
After that second Super Bowl. I'm already sick to my stomach that they back-to-backed.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sick to my stomach that they have more Super Bowls than us. If they become a historic team and for the first time ever three-peat, it's going to be a bad day for me.
You saying all that. No, I will never root for them. I'm just making that clear, but like it's something that's never happened and I could say I watched it. And I was like very plugged in.
There's a lot on the line here.
Like and the only thing I can compare it to on like the opposite side was like one of my favorite basketball memories. This is college basketball now. It was like I'm a North Carolina fan, so anti-Duke. I got to watch Duke be the only number 1 seed ever upset by a 32 seed in the March Madness tournament.
Yeah, I'm sure you were so upset about that.
No, that was great.
Oh, North Carolina did?
No, Duke got upset.
Yeah, so you hate them.
Yeah, no, and so I'm saying that was awesome. So like apart from being like the North Carolina Duke thing, would I have been as invested as watching that as like something that happened? Probably not. It's one of those things that I kind of liked that there was a ceiling, you know, that this is never going to happen. The longer it goes without happening, the like more significant it is. And now like if it happens again, it's like not as fun. I don't know. So the three-peat thing, the next time a three-peat comes around, it's not going to mean as much because the Chiefs already did it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and
like
I
this,
hate that.
And I don't want the Chiefs to be this first one to do it. You're right. I'd rather take any other team other than the Raiders.
Yeah.
Would you rather the Raiders, the Chargers, or the Chiefs
Chargers.
do a three-peat?
Chargers. Because they've never won one before, ever.
Yeah.
If the Chiefs were... Yeah, no. If the Raiders were to three-peat, they'd have
Honestly,
6.
before Mahomes, I probably would have said the Chiefs. Because that's when we had Phillip Rivers, which we had, and then like the Raiders. So like, if I would say, oh, which of these 3 teams would you rather see have like? Because the Chiefs didn't do anything before that.
So
before Mahomes,
I've actually always hated the Chiefs, even before they were.
Really?
Yeah.
Like Alex
For
Smith
whatever
before
reason.
then?
For whatever reason, I just always hated them.
Okay.
I now definitely hated the Raiders too,
Mm-hmm.
but the Raiders were never good.
Yeah.
The Chiefs were okay.
Yeah.
Now you're right. The Chargers were the better team growing up, but my uncle was a Chargers fan, so I had like a soft spot.
Okay.
So I didn't hate them.
Yeah.
Even though I probably should have.
Yeah. I was more indifferent to the Chiefs.
Yeah, no, I hated them.
So okay, and that's probably fueling what you're feeling now. So.
It is 100%.
Mm-hmm.
Now, another thing I want to say, going into this game, out of the last 5 years that the Chiefs have been consistently good and going to Super Bowls or competing for Super Bowls, this is by far the worst they've been.
Yeah.
So if they do it then against a better defense, I'm not going to say the Eagles' offense is better necessarily. I think they are in almost every way except quarterback. O-line's good.
Running back, obviously.
Running back's great. Great. Way better wide receivers.
Mm-hmm.
Way better.
Yeah.
If somehow, some fucking way the Chiefs still pull this shit off, NFL's fucking rigged. So with all that being said, Eagles 31, Chiefs 28.
I'm going to say Chiefs 34, Eagles 31.
Yeah. I'm sticking to that.
Mm-hmm. I would love, and I feel like, actually, no, I'm going to amend that. I'm going to say Chiefs 28, Eagles
31.
24. Eagles 24.
Lower scoring?
Because every single year I'm like, I'm going to predict a high score for the Super Bowl because that's what I would want to watch. I would also want to watch the Eagles win. You know what? I'm going to actually predict like a low scoring game because it's good defense. And I'm going to predict the team that's the team of destiny to win because if I were, I considered that. I considered like putting money down on the Chiefs-Bills game on the Chiefs because they were plus money. And I was just like, I know the Bills are a better team. And I know I want the Bills to win. But it's the Chiefs playing the Bills in the playoffs. And you can get plus money for it. So like that almost tempted me, but I couldn't bring myself to bet on the Chiefs. Especially because I don't really sports bet as much. If I was like constantly doing it, I'd be like, all right, maybe I got a shot. But couldn't do it. But if the Chiefs were plus money in the Super Bowl, that'd also be a tough one to pass up. No, it's not worth the like $20 to $50 that I'd make on it to like
sell your soul.
Yeah, it's not.
All right. Predictions are in the book. Broncos hype.
All right.
How are we feeling?
I'm so glad we can go into an off season knowing we got our quarterback and we can prioritize other stuff.
Coach and quarterback.
It's so nice.
First time since we won the Super Bowl where the coach and the quarterback aren't a question.
Mm-hmm.
For real.
Which means you can build somewhere else. You have to get those right. And then once you get them right, you can build somewhere else.
I told you, the 3 pillars. Ownership has already... It's a young ownership group. But they've proven that they give a shit.
Thank you, Condoleezza.
For real, though.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they have proven to be a caring group. They switch out the field halfway through the season, like, just for player safety.
Yeah.
Player health has been at an all-time high.
Yeah. I remember the past couple of years, just injuries just back and forth and back and forth.
It's been the best it's been in a long time, the last 2 years.
Yeah.
They're building this brand new training facility. You know, the ownership group is doing its part, as young as they are. We can talk GM. I've liked our GM. He's been good. He's had some, the Russ thing was definitely a huge blunder.
But we were all as in on that as like you could have been, so.
There's been some rough patches, but I think he's drafted very well. We got the coach, Sean Payton. He's the guy.
Yeah.
Like, there's no doubt about it.
Mm-hmm.
Now we got the guy. Now we got the quarterback.
Yep.
We got the quarterback and he's only going to get better.
Yeah.
Especially working in that organization with a team that is going to work around him and build him up. Mm-hmm. That is the way to make a quarterback good.
And I think if you asked Sean Payton, this is exactly the year that he wanted from Bo Nix.
Yes.
I admit it started off rough, but he was a rookie, and I even gave him the benefit of the doubt because it's like, he's a rookie, he's going to kind of be awkward the first couple games. And then he kind of found a little bit of stride. He wasn't like a gunslinger or anything like that, but he got it done when he needed to get it done. He's not going to be your, Brett Favre type gunslinging. He's not going to be your, like, Patrick Mahomes scramble out of the pocket kind of guy, but he can do just enough things to, like, bring success without turnovers. And like you said, he's just going to get a little bit better each year in doing the good things he needs to do. If you can have a good game manager and not have to worry about that portion, and you build up everybody else, you give him a good receiving core, you give him a good O-line, a running back, defense, maybe you got a stew going.
Yeah. So it's nice to have. It's nice to be able to finally feel like we're making some strides.
Breathing room.
Now, you know what stifles that?
What's that?
Knowing that the Chiefs are still fucking in our division.
But this being the worst year the Chiefs have had, granted, they're in the Super Bowl. From what we can see, they're on the downslide. Give it like, imagine in like...
It is the perfect time.
Like 2 years from now. Yeah, because like, we're not going to be making the Super Bowl this year or next year. But like, give us like 2 years, 3 years.
Yeah.
And like, Bo is like becoming a veteran now and he's in his prime. Him being a veteran in his prime while the Chiefs are on their tail slide.
They're at least apexing.
Yeah. I think this is their apex was like last year and now they're like maintaining. I don't see them getting better next year, honestly.
Well, eventually, it's not even just... Sometimes talent doesn't necessarily do it all for you. Like, eventually you're just not going to be able to pull it off. Like, You're just not going to get lucky.
You're not going to win those 50-50 games, all those one-score games that you won this year. You'll lose half those games next year.
And if we just slide on in,
yeah,
if we can compete for the division,
yeah,
that would excite me.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we can, especially with our defense the way it is right now. Okay, here's a question for you as far as Broncos' future stuff.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think are the top needs this offseason?
See, this is an area where you are the expert and I am just kind of just watching. But I would definitely take a good receiver because we got Sutton, we lost Judy, my boy. If we need something there. I think we can be okay in like the running back room, especially if it's committee, unless you like get some super dynamic.
Sounds like Javante's gone.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm. Sounds like they're not gonna because his contract's up.
Yeah, and I think he's past what his like peak was going to be anyway, so that's not the worst.
It sounds like he's gonna be gone.
And Audrick's all right; he'll just get better, and maybe we get like a rookie. So I'm not as lenient on a running back, but I would say a receiver. If you can get another, like maybe you get like a good linebacker, someone for pass rush.
Now remember, Alex Singleton's coming back. He was hurt all year.
Ooh.
Here's okay. I'll lay out what I think is like the blueprint.
Yeah.
For what we need to do.
Mine is receiver. I'm gonna say pass rush, and then if you could get like someone on the other side of PS2.
Yeah.
Those are.
I like where we're at on corner. You can never go wrong with more depth.
Riley Moss, best white corner in the league, baby.
You can never go wrong with more depth.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm with you on that. I think for one, free agent wise, for what we have coming up, we need to sign Cody Barton back. I would love to see him come back, and maybe DJ Jones on the D line. Other than that, I'm good seeing everybody else walk. If there's some guys that I'm not aware of that they bring back, great. Those are the only two guys that I am like 100% dead set need to come back. And even DJ Jones could maybe go because Franklin Myers did a great job. Zach Allen's doing good on the D-line. We actually probably could let DJ Jones go. And that's the middle interior line. But we also have, linebacker, I think, is a point of emphasis. We do need, again, Singleton will be back. I like Cody Barton in that position. Offensively, 100%. The number one need we have is tight end.
Yeah. We
do not have a tight end. We need to get a tight end.
Who do we have now? Is it Troutman still?
Troutman and Luke Kroll.
Yeah.
We need a guy, because that's Sean Payton's offense has always been built around a good tight end.
Have you done any preliminary? Is there any draft prospects?
Yeah. There's a great one.
Yeah.
Out of Penn State. Tyler Warren. If we get Tyler Warren, it's the greatest. It's one of the best draft picks we've ever had. He is a top tier draft pick and could easily slide to us at number 20.
Awesome.
I mean, I shouldn't say easily because he is by and large the number one tight end in the draft.
You think we'd move up for him though?
No. Because there is another guy. His name's Corey Loveland.
Where's he out of?
Michigan. Another good tight end. But Tyler Warren is the guy.
Are they good passing tight ends or are they blocking tight ends?
Warren's
a bit of both, or?
Dual threat.
Warren's dual threat?
He's a 6'6", 250-pound tight end.
Just like me.
He's a big boy. He's a big boy.
Working on the 260.
He rolls, dude. And he's a damn good receiving tight end. Awesome. That's the number one target. Mm-hmm. I wouldn't be upset if we took Ashton Genty in the first round, the running back from Boise. Mm. I doubt he's going to fall that low, but I could see us getting him. I do think we need to get a dual threat running back, a guy that can rush well and receive well. Mm-hmm. Because that's another Sean Payton specialty.
Yeah, give Bo some sort of safety valve to hit whenever he needs it. There's a tighter end or a back rolling out to the flat or something like that.
Now those are more draft, and of course O-line. We can
always
add depth.
Yeah,
depth there too.
Especially,
I think we could add
a healthy year.
We could add some safety depth too. Mm-hmm. I wouldn't mind that. But free agency wise, other than what we need to do for ourselves, that's where I'm looking at wide receiver.
Okay.
I agree we need to go get another wide receiver. We need more help out there. I like the young core we have with Mims and Vele, your boy.
My boy Vele. I need a Vele
jersey. What number is Vele?
I don't know. You got me. You caught me in 4K there, man. I don't know.
But I like the young core.
Yeah.
Depth is never a bad thing at that position. There's two names that come to my mind in free agency. One is Chris Godwin. I like that because to pair with Sutton. Mm-hmm. And the other one, of course, I'm going to forget off the top. No. T. Higgins obviously would be a great one. Mm-hmm. I don't see that happening because of the money situation we're in. Because he's going to garner a huge contract. Mm-hmm. It'd be amazing if we could go get T. Higgins. Yeah. But there was another name that I was like, this feels like somebody we could get that would... Osborne from...
KJ Osborne?
Yes, from the Vikings. Mm-hmm. Because he's currently a third stringer. Didn't play this year because he was hurt. So he could have a smaller price tag. I could see him staying with Minnesota, but they already have two good wide receivers. And I could see him wanting to come play at a number 2 spot. Mm-hmm. So that's not a bad one, too. There are also rumors of us trading for Garrett Wilson from the Jets. Now, I don't like that because that includes draft picks.
Oh.
And I don't want to do that. So I'm against that. As good as Garrett Wilson is, I'm against that. Mm-hmm. Go get a Chris Godwin. Go get a KJ Osborne. Get a T. Higgins. I'd rather spend the money on T. Higgins than spend the draft picks on Garrett Wilson.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
So that's where I'm at. There's not really a lot of good tight end free agents, so I think you address tight end in the draft. I think our first round draft pick needs to be Tyler Warren or that Loveland kid. Mm-hmm. It's got to be one of those two.
Cool. I like that. And as usual, I just kind of like default to you. I'm just like, all right, now I know who to watch for.
If we get Tyler Warren, I will. It's going to be like when Judy got drafted.
Yeah.
For real.
Yeah.
Like, I will be celebrating like a mofo.
You can't chant Warren as much as you can chant Judy, Judy.
Warren. It does sound weird. But other than that, I'm just happy with. It's so nice that we finally had a year that we could actually look back and be like, damn, this was a good year.
Yep, and I was excited because going in, I wanted to go over 500. I wanted Bo to look serviceable as the quarterback of the future, and I wanted to like be competitive. And then cherry on top would have been making the playoffs. So, kind of checked everything of my like priority list from the beginning of the year.
I had 3 checklists that were not necessarily realistic, but ones that like these would be steps forward. Winning season.
Yep.
Got that. Playoffs, which I was not expecting, to be honest.
Mm-hmm.
And even at the end, I was like, fuck, we're going to blow this.
Yeah.
Got that. But the number 1 checklist was beat the Chiefs.
How do you feel about our
Don't
win
care.
against the Chiefs?
Don't care. Because here's the bottom line. If you're playing against the backups of any team, that's the way you should handle business, is by blowing them out. I think we could have beat them in that game. Whether Mahomes was in or not. I think look what we did the last time we played them.
My heart was dead set on like, towards the end of the season, I was like, all right, this is kind of shaping out to where we could sneak in as like the last seed and the Chiefs will be like a top seed.
You were thinking we could play them in the playoffs?
I would love to have played them in the playoffs and knocked them out. That would have been dream scenario. Didn't happen, obviously. I still think it could have.
I think it definitely could have. And there's one major reason why. Our defense.
Yeah.
I think our defense could have been the deciding factor in that game. Now, if you look at the way our offense played against the Bills, you would say no. And I agree with you. Also, because didn't realize Bo was hurt. Did you know that?
No.
Yeah, Bo was dealing with a back injury against the Bills.
What kind of back injury?
It doesn't sound like it's like serious.
Okay.
But it was enough to like, obviously it wasn't serious enough for him to not play.
Yeah.
But it was enough to like be an issue.
Yeah.
And I'm not using that as an excuse as to why we lost. Definitely not. I mean, there was multiple reasons for that. But yeah, if you look at the way our offense played, I would say no, we wouldn't have beat the Chiefs. But our defense has consistently been tremendous.
Yeah.
Oh, this hasn't been recording the whole time. I'm just,
dude.
Do you know how absolutely devastating? I fear that and I'll look and check all the time, and know it's recording, and still think it's not.
I would have been like, you know what? Run to the store, grab a 30 rack. We're starting over.
Oh my god. No, wait. What did we say about that one thing? Any other points on the Broncos before we?
Just super stoked. It's great. About as good as I could have hoped for this season, and I haven't had the opportunity to say that for about a decade since we've been watching the Broncos. So it was great.
I love that you made the point of like, this will be the first Broncos playoff game we'll have gotten to watch together, and I'm like, wow.
And that helped.
That really dates. But it also really dates how long we've been on a drought.
Mm-hmm. And that helped because it's like, you know, I got to watch my boy.
Yeah.
And for half of the game, we thought we were going to shock the world. I'll take that. I'll take that.
You know what would have helped a lot more?
We would have won.
Well, of course. But even that, even in the loss, you know what would have helped? If the Bills didn't fuck it all up. Because now I don't care that, like, now I'm like, well, we could have lost to the Chiefs.
Yeah. It's kind of nice. So Broncos obviously primary, Packers secondary. So it's like, oh, if the Bills and the Eagles were in the Super Bowl, I'd be like, cool. One of the teams that beat the teams I root for is like going to win the Super Bowl. So who knows? We got beat by the best team, you know?
See, I'm somewhat of a not bandwagon, that's the wrong word. I'm like a
cuck.
I'm a cuck for the Bills. And I somewhat am. That's a good word for it. That's a great word for it. Yeah, I'm a cuck for the Bills because, for one, They do consistently make the playoffs, and they are usually the best. Like what seems to be year by year, the team that's going to take out the Chiefs. Obviously, they never do, but that's why I'm like, if we're gonna lose to the Bills, I'll pull for them because I think they can beat the Chiefs. Then they don't, and now they're dead to me.
Yeah, you said you had a couple of AFC teams. My guess on your AFC teams that are not the Broncos. You said you like 2 or 3.
Let me think on it real quick. Like okay, what define a team that I would root for in the Super Bowl?
Or teams just that like you don't like.
Okay, that's a better way. Teams I don't completely hate, that I actually kind of enjoy their success. That's what I'll put it.
Yeah.
Let me think real quick, just so I don't forget. Go ahead and start naming them.
So
I got 3.
So I'm thinking. So Bills.
Yeah.
Bengals.
Yeah.
I know this is a no, but I kind of want to say Dolphins.
No.
Yeah. Just
fuck no. Fuck no, Landon.
He said yes, Landon. He just edited it out. I don't know. Those were at least the 2 that I had.
I'd say there's one more, and they're kind of becoming less of one more. They were one, and they're becoming much less of one. Texans.
Oh, really?
Simply because
Stroud?
No, that's why they're becoming less of one, to be honest. Because, I don't know.
I never would have guessed.
They were just one of those teams that were, like, kind of good, but never really, like, nobody took them seriously. And I was like, and they were a newer team growing up, so I was like, what's there to hate?
Yeah.
And I don't, I like their uniforms, and there's just little things like that I'm like, oh.
And it's like a Texas team that's not the Cowboys.
And I was like, there's nothing to hate here.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of where I'm at. It's like, I don't hate them, but now that they're starting to get good again, I'm like, no. But they've also never had, like, really shitty players that I just hated.
I never think about the Texans, honestly.
Right, and that's kind of where it's at. That's kind of why they're in that group. Then there's teams like the Browns and the Jets.
What's the team you think about the least now, currently? Current team you think about the least?
Oh, this is the Panthers, probably.
Yeah, forgot they. Yeah. Because I was gonna say the Texans are like up there for me.
I mean, I would say the Panthers or, gosh, the Panthers are definitely up there.
I'd almost have to look at like a list and say like a list of teams.
Teams I think about the least.
The Saints are kind of irrelevant right now, but they still have the Breeze factor.
They still come in there a little bit. I'm gonna just look at a quick list.
That's a good call. Yeah.
But, I would maybe say the Cardinals.
Oh, yeah.
Like, they don't cross my mind a whole lot. Because there's the teams like there's obviously our division, I think about them. There's teams like the Jets that I think about because they suck so bad. There's certain teams that I think about because they're just so bad. I think number one's got to be the Panthers, right? Like, I just think about them so little. You know who else is actually on this list? The Giants. I never really think about them.
Yeah, if it hadn't been for them trading away Saquon, then I wouldn't have thought about them as much. But since Saquon is doing so well, I'm just like, what are the Giants thinking of this right now? Honestly, I don't think about the Rams at all, and I think like, an LA team.
But they made
I think
the
about
playoffs.
The Chargers. Still haven't thought about them.
I've thought about them a decent amount.
The Colts.
I was gonna say the Colts too. I was also definitely gonna say the Colts.
Yeah, my pick's probably the Panthers or the Colts.
I'm sticking Panthers for sure. Panthers is number one.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess I probably thought about the Giants more than I've thought about the Colts.
And then Colts had Richardson, who had
the Cardinals really are on this fucking list, though.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think about them ever.
Yeah, I think about what's his name, quarterback for the Murray, just because. So my wife make fun of like, he's like when he was running, he looks like the way like we imagine our babies going to run, just like arms out.
I always love the images where they're like, y'all still them boys, and it shows all the quarterbacks. And this year they had one with Kyler Murray on there, and he's just like it's just like his eyes peeking over the the horizon of the picture.
It's too much, man.
I love it. All right. Before we wrap this bad boy up,
Mm-hmm.
I do have to ask you about Robin Williams movies.
Ooh, okay. So this is just I found that I have a blind spot. I haven't seen several classic Robin Williams movies.
And you're a huge movie fan.
Yeah,
We've discussed this on the show, man.
And I know that a lot of older, especially 80s sort of comedies kind of I've got a blind spot for a lot of those. But, I appreciate Robin Williams as much as the next guy. I've seen several. I was a big fan of Flubber.
I was shocked when you told me that you had not seen Mrs. Doubtfire.
I have not seen Mrs. Doubtfire.
Have you still not?
Still not. But we haven't gotten a chance to watch the movie. We watched literally 30 seconds of Jurassic World the other night. And baby needed attention. So
I actually love Jurassic World.
See, we're going to watch all 3 Jurassic World movies because the new one's coming out this year.
Oh, wait, Jurassic World. Sorry.
Yeah.
I love Jurassic Park.
Yeah.
Lost World.
Oh, Jurassic Park 3.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, 2.
Oh, yeah, Lost World and then Jurassic Park 3.
It's underestimated. It's underappreciated.
So we're going to watch
The World. Okay, I got you.
because we were going to watch all of them, but we were we got a whole list. Fresh baby. We're just all right,
sure.
Let's at least watch the Jurassic World movie so we're caught up for what's happening in current stuff. But yeah, Jurassic Park, one of the greatest movies of all time. All that to say, one of the ones on the list is Robin Williams movies. So we've got a list of movies that specifically I haven't seen. Number one's Bicentennial Man. No, I'm just kidding.
Speaking, if the Carolina Panthers were a movie,
It'd be Bicentennial Man. I don't know how that movie keeps popping up in my head as the first movie I know I haven't seen by Robin Williams.
I could just picture the cover.
Yeah.
That's where my brain goes, is I just see the cover.
But yeah, Mrs. Doubtfire. Gotta watch it. It's on the list.
I'm gonna pull up list of Robin Williams.
Ooh, yeah.
Obviously you've seen Aladdin.
Yes.
One of his greatest roles ever.
Of course. Flubber. I'm a big Flubber guy.
Okay. That's a Disney movie too, right?
Yes.
Is it?
Or no, I think it's DreamWorks.
Really?
Yeah. Seen Good Will Hunting, Dead Poet Society, Jumanji.
You've seen those?
Yeah.
Okay, Jumanji's top tier.
Yes. I haven't seen Patch Adams.
You've seen Night at the Museum.
Maybe, but that one I don't necessarily consider much of a classic.
See, how do I sort this by I need to sort this by
Popularity.
Yeah, or something.
I haven't seen Good Morning Vietnam, and that's one I want to watch.
Oh yeah, you got to see that.
So I think that and
Ooh.
and Miss Doubtfire are the top 2 that I want to watch that I know I'll enjoy.
How do I fucking look at this by Okay.
Are you finding pictures of Aunt Fanny from Robots?
He was in Robots.
Have you seen Insomnia?
Popularity. There we go. Got it. I have not seen that.
Insomnia.
Wait.
Directed by Christopher Nolan, with him and Al Pacino.
Yes, I have. It's
Great movie.
So good.
Yeah, and it's suspense movie. It's super underrated. And it's that. Where did this come from? It's kind of reminds me of Shutter Island and just one of these ones that kind of keeps you guessing. And Robin Williams is great in it. Super as a role I wouldn't expect him in.
I actually think I need to rewatch that.
Absolutely.
Because it's been so long, but I do remember that being a great movie.
Yeah.
Okay, so you said you've seen number 1 on your list. Have you seen Hook?
Yes.
Okay.
I enjoy it. It's
Fern Gully?
Yeah. See,
my name is Batty.
See, my blind spot is that I haven't seen mostly it's Mrs. Doubtfire. But I was like, okay, well I gotta make sure I've seen some of the good ones.
Well, I'm trying to let me see here. Yep, there's Bicentennial Man.
License to Wed. License to Wed.
Patch Adams is good. It's not like a must. I think Jack is a good one.
Is it?
Hey, have you seen RV?
No.
No, it's all right.
Yeah, I kind of figured.
It just popped up. Man, I don't know. I think you might have seen all the. I don't know what you're talking about. It sounds like you License to Wed. Yeah, I don't know.
Maybe I just like I just anticipated there being
Toys is all right.
more.
Toys is all right.
So, Good Morning Vietnam and Mrs. Doubtfire
Or
maybe
definitely.
maybe Patch Adams, but like,
Yeah, you've seen more than I think you thought you've seen.
mm-hmm.
But the fact that you haven't seen Mrs. Doubtfire is quite a travesty.
and I gotta watch Bicentennial Man. Now that we've just talked about it,
No, you might as well. What if it's your all-time favorite movie?
it could be. You know,
I doubt it.
It's not gonna be, but it could be.
But anything is possible. Yeah, no. I forgot about Insomnia.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to rewatch that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we're gonna give it a go.
All right.
Because Christopher Nolan's one of my favorite directors, and I kind of forget about his early stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But super good before he had decided to get really like, I'm gonna get really overly complicated with my plots and timelines and stuff. And I don't know. I have some issues with Tenet and Dunkirk, just like watchability wise. But I'll go back and watch him because I respect him as a filmmaker. But
What about
Dark Knight trilogy and Inception, peak film all time.
But what about the genie?
Oh man, he was like, it was like 200 years. You know, he was like really a bicentennial man.
It was a little longer than that. I think he says
10,000 years will give you such a crick in the neck.
My favorite is like the two lines that crush me from that movie.
Mm-hmm.
One is when he's like, he turns into Jack Nicholson. He's like, "Here's the deal, Sparky. You gotta court the little lady," or you know, like.
Yeah.
And then the other one's when he's playing chess with the carpet, and he goes, "Geez, I'm losing to a rug." Like,
Yeah. Goes full Rodney Dangerfield.
yes, it's like phenomenal.
Yeah.
Oh, it's the best.
Mm-hmm. But Will Smith did it better.
No. I mean, I don't hate that movie, but I don't love it.
How do you feel about the Will Smith genie? I bet you didn't expect to be talking about Will Smith genie
On the Super Bowl episode?
Yeah.
I mean, it was fine,
Mm-hmm.
but it's just one of those roles that's like almost impossible to...
Yeah.
It's like saying, what'd you think of the Will Smith Darth Vader?
You really did.
You know, like, it doesn't work that way.
To that movie and his credit, you did have to go in a completely other direction, and they did, and it was still genie vibes.
Yeah.
But it wasn't like you weren't just doing a Robin Williams impression, because you can't, because also half of what Robin Williams is doing is impressions.
I'll just say that I didn't hate it as much as I thought I would.
Mm-hmm. And then, like, the songs in that, like, I will give him this, like, Will Smith slaps.
The only thing that would have made it better is if he came out and was singing, "I'm going to Miami."
Get my wife's name out your fucking mouth. I still am traumatized by, like, that. Like, I don't watch Will Smith stuff anymore, because, like, I grew up with, like, Fresh Prince, and he was, like, very wholesome character, and, like, this very, like, I don't know. And I just saw, like, a side of him that, like, I never needed to see.
Also, I like Chris Rock, too.
Mm-hmm.
Like, Chris Rock didn't deserve that.
Like, just as if any person would have done that, I would have been like, oh, that's just like if somebody
uncalled for on national television.
Yeah, and just really just something
in front
wrong
of
with
all
him.
your peers. Like, yeah. I mean, I think it's a little deeper than what it was, but still, it's just not the right thing to do in that moment.
Yeah, it's just rough, and it speaks to Will and Jada's relationship too, however that was going, because there was actually some stuff there, and just like,
here's the deal, Sparky. If you want to get back at Chris Rock, you don't slap him on national television.
I did hear that, like, Chris Rock's ideal, I mean, he handled it as perfect as anybody ever could have handled it, but if he wanted to, like, push the envelope, somebody posted, like, the perfect response, just like,
I think I saw that.
Yeah, because, like, the Oscars were in, like, March, something like that. It's like, oh, if this is how you are in March, imagine how your wife feels in August. Because August is the name of the dude.
Oh, yeah. Oh, my God. That would have buried him.
Oh my god!
Buried.
Yeah. And then he would have had to run off stage, but that would have been fine. But like, just that whole situation just gives me the ick. I don't like thinking about it and feeling about it.
Which sucks because Will Smith really is a phenomenal actor.
It really is, and like probably would have been in my top tier of like actors I respect before that, and then just like honestly very similar to the Vaughn situation. Although the Vaughn thing's like more so because it's more egregious, but like, that's why I don't end up pinning too much of my investment into a celebrity type of figure because like you never know, and there's always stuff going
malleable just as all of us.
Yeah. So
who do you think, okay, if you could best pin your personality to a Disney character, who do you think it would be?
Pleakley.
Which one's that?
No, that's the like neurotic alien from Lilo and Stitch.
Oh,
I don't know how I thought of Pleakley top of mind out of every single Disney character there is. That was strange.
Oh, that's funny. I totally now I know who you're talking about.
Yeah.
But that blanked on me. Like I was like, who?
It's a good question. Who's the coolest Disney character? Oh, I mean, honestly, and this is probably skewed because I'm sitting with you, but like, I can relate to Max.
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
A lot of times, like, you think you're cool, and then also, occasionally, you got, like, the balls to do something pretty cool. Like, I've always imagined myself doing, like, the high-flying act type of thing.
I feel like Max is you're more goofy than you are Max.
Now.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like, I think you're more goofy because Max is. You're not too shy to fucking do the possum dance, and like you're the one that's making your kid do the possum dance.
But in my mind, Max is going to turn out to be very similar to Goofy. So like, whether he wants to or not, he's going to like realize, oh, my dad was right, and it's like I liked having fun with him or whatever. I don't think Goofy was like Max when he was a kid. Like he was definitely not. He was very like, oh, shucks, Dad, let's all go fishing together. I don't think he ever talked back to his dad at all. But he'll do some... Max will like some puns when he's a dad.
I think you give some pretty strong Genie vibes.
Ooh, that's high praise.
I think you give some strong Genie vibes. Just very, like, boisterous and, like, outgoing, but also, like, sympathetic when needed.
Yeah. Nice. I'll take that. I got to ponder on that, too. I got to meditate on that for a bit. What do you have something that...
For me?
Yeah.
No. It's hard when you're trying to think of all the characters. Dopey. No. Here, hang on. There. Now I'm dopey. Let me think. God, what you got to help me out because it's hard to like gauge yourself from an out. I don't know how to like judge myself as because I'm gonna tell I'm like fucking Mufasa.
Like for mannerisms wise, I'm imagining one specific scene, and it's hard to get it out of my mind because it's like an earworm, which kind of repeats, But when Mr. Incredible's being interviewed, and he's like getting pissed that like it's like I just cleaned up this place. Like, can't you keep it clean for 5 minutes? He's just like getting pissed, like that animated nature of that. Maybe it's because you're in front of a microphone right now, and I imagine that. I'm pulling out some weird Disney references, like Mr. Incredible and Pleakley.
Pleakley. Let me see. Let me just look at movies. I can tell you who I'd be as a Disney villain.
Who's that?
No one fucks like Gaston. No one sucks like Gaston. No one's busting quite the nuts like Gaston. No, I think I would be Gaston. Well, who do you think you'd be as a villain?
The
villain's a little easier because there's like, there's one.
Yeah.
Per movie. Oh.
I know exactly who I'd be in a Disney movie.
Powhatan?
Just...
I just saw it too. I just saw it too.
These white men are dangerous. I can't wait to tell my daughter that.
Yeah, I didn't think we were going too literal here. Yeah. I literally zoomed right in on Pocahontas as you said that. Oh, I know who I'd be. Quasimodo.
Let me look up Disney villains, because that's a smaller pool to think from.
Oh, I'd be Coda.
Ooh.
I'm kidding.
Ooh, Coda and Powhatan.
Well, you got yours in, so I had to get mine in.
Yeah.
Powhatan. Oh, that's funny.
Oh, if I were to be like a villain, I think I'd hope for being like Hades.
I kind of was gonna say Hades,
Mm-hmm.
to be honest with you. Like, I think Hades might be a little too flamboyant.
Yeah, and like it's hard to pick a villain because they're also dark. I'm not gonna be Claude Frollo, you know.
No, he is religious.
Hellfire!
Great song.
That movie's got all-time greats.
It's all time. I'm trying to think of like maybe I'd be as a character. Maybe I'd be like Dumbo because I got big ears and he gets drunk in the movie.
Maybe I'd be like those racist crows.
And his mom goes to jail. I'm Dumbo.
He can fly.
He hallucinates.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, it could be like
So I'd be your Jiminy Cricket.
Pinocchio.
Yeah, I just said I'd be your Jiminy Cricket, and then you said you're getting a wood boner. So.
Oh boy. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
I'm gonna have to give that more thought, and I'll try to think of one and come up with a good one.
Okay. Sounds good. But we are not done yet.
Yeah.
Because my boy needs to give us a positive, motivational message to end the show.
I have been thinking about this, and I did see like your year-end wrap-up kind of stuff. I've seen that I've given pretty long-winded, pretty like heartfelt ones, which
I like that.
I stand by and I'm totally genuine with. This one is drink water. People need to drink more fucking water. Just, your body needs it. You're drinking too much booze. You're drinking too much pop. Drink some water. And, like, your body will thank you. This is a physical message. I've given some heartfelt, spiritual, sort of emotional messages. Not everybody can get out there and run a mile a day. Not everybody can get out there and just, like, meditate for an hour a day. Drink some water. Your body will thank you. It'll help your brain. It'll help your soul. Drink some water.
I like it. Did a little bit of a... Went the other direction.
You got to, because that's needed too.
When you're on the show enough times and you use up all your good material, eventually you just got to, like, break the mold and do something a little different.
You do need water.
And that is true. Yes. It is a good message.
I'm not talking the water that's in Coors Lights, although more power to us,
But water is good.
Yeah. Doesn't have to be filtered, doesn't have to be bottled. Out of the tap, get yourself a glass. When you wake up, it'll kickstart the metabolism. It'll get everything going and flowing. Your liver can kind of get like cleaned out. Just a glass in the morning. Just, if you're watching this, listening to this, chug a glass of water right now. There you go.
I'm 100. If you didn't think that your other ones were long-winded, I'm using every ounce of water talk you've had. It's going to make it the longest one at the end of the year.
Yeah. Drink 2 glasses if you've listened to the whole thing.
Yeah, if you went the whole 2 hours, that's a 2-hour episode.
Heck yeah. It's good. We hadn't had just a solo. I've been on before when we just did a solo back and forth.
Several times.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you've been on at least 2 or 3 times
by
yourself, because then we did the one with Michaela, and then we did the other Stuper Bowl episode. So I would say this is either your 5th or 6th episode. Something like that.
Also, big announcement. Thurston 10's coming back. No, I'm just kidding.
Oh, fuck! Got me excited for a minute.
Maybe I'll consider it. I'm trying to go back down to part-time at work, but that's to take care of baby some. So like,
You need
who
something
knows?
to kill time.
Yeah, I think I got enough time not enough time as is, but like it'd be fun. I enjoy doing this, so think about it.
Maybe I'll bring it back,
There you go.
and then you'll just have to be a permanent
Mm-hmm.
co-host.
Yep. And the beer review every time is a Coors Light.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you guys so much for watching. Appreciate it. Go Eagles! Fly, Eagles, fly, as much as I hate to say that, honestly. But most importantly, don't forget, life's a garden. Dig it.
Just gotta